I'm going to talk about, well, AI, like everyone is today. I mean, it's hard to avoid the topic. That's why we're here. It's everyday AI, and there's so much to do. Before I talk about Gen AI, I would say, what is AI for me? And for me, AI is everything. Or let's say it outgrew the technology. 20, 30, 50 years ago, it was a technical thing. It was at the core always mathematics, physics, machine learning, but then it outgrew. And I would say 90% of people talking about AI today, they don't know how to code anymore. They don't even know how to build one. But everyone talks. The media, even our chancellor, everyone talks about AI, so it is everywhere. And that means in the current times, we need to adapt for this. For me, in the nutshell, I have dedicated my life the non-technical side of the AI. That means mostly I explain Bundeskanzler, politicians, what AI means, what we need. We know funding, more capital, more awareness, where we're standing globally. I've started several AI companies myself. I have 2 investment firms investing into AI. I also organize in the same location here once in a year the Influential Rise of AI conference, where I bring together all the stakeholders to discuss AI and how we move ahead. And that's my perspective I would like to share with you. It's not the technical perspective. Others will do this, already doing this. I talk about the non-technical challenge, which is also impacting us. And to start, AI has become a geostrategy tool. Some people call it weaponizing AI, some call it the AI superpowers. You can look at Kai-Fu Lee and others. But what happened is, and this happened 2016, when the Chinese government woke up and realized with the match AlphaGo and Leo Sodol in 2016, which was, another milestone in the public awareness, 200 million Chinese watched this live. And the government realized, oh, we have to take this serious. So they started to invest at this point 170 billion into the market with consequences. And that led to that every other government in the world started to have AI strategies. So 2016, 17, 18, 180 nations came up with an AI strategy. To make it short, most of them didn't execute on this. So a lot of talking, but not executing. Still, everyone had the awareness. So we are today in a phase, and I always remind me a little bit a late runner, where you will have to choose, do you want to plug in your API with your neural interface one day into the American system or the Chinese system, or maybe the middle one in between. This is how the cake is currently dividing. But this is what we see. The Americans are all over the place, except of China, Russia, and then you have the undecided ones, and then you have Europe somewhere stuck in between. So the Americans are the #1 in terms of most funding, most startups, most economical, military technology power. Dataiku is an American company by default today, even it was founded, I think, in France. So it's the origin. Yeah? You have the good people in Europe. But when you want to get big and successful, you go to the United States. And this is what's mainly happening. So whenever we talk about AI, we mainly talk about American innovation. We talk about American AI, and they drive the innovation, they drive the technology, the talents, and they have it currently all. But also at the same time, they don't have the strictest law. They have more innovation. So for years, and Draghi just published a report about the competitiveness of Europe, and I talk from European perspective to you because, hey, we're here in Europe. We want to learn from them. And then on the other hand, we have the Chinese system. And the Chinese system is very different and still very brilliantly set up from their perspective, and they are way more down in the terms of AI adoption. We look at the social credit score. Yeah? The social credit score in China is just one element, and it's connected on a huge platform, which is not Dataiku, I hope. And it's measuring how you behave, what you talk, what you text. When you go over the light, red or blue, not red, how you drive, when you pay your invoices. And this all is aggregated in a score which is influencing who you can date, if you get good jobs, if you can travel, or if you end up in a concentration camp. And this is not for 1.4 billion people, it's just on a trial for 200 million people, and they're iterating this. But they also use the same program internally to measure 6 million politicians. for corruption. It's called Tiger and Flies. They have 2 billion CCTV cameras, all connected with face detection, and when they had COVID, they knew that you had COVID and leaving your building, they knew it right away and picked you up and put you back. So I always like to quote that in China we have 1984 in real time. It's happening. And even if we in Europe don't want this and we have laws against this, China is already exporting this technology to 60 nations. Hungary is one of them. So you're using this, it's out in the market, and we as a society have to figure out how do we want to use it, do we want to use it, etc. And then we have Europe, and sometimes I'm frustrated because we're like stuck in the middle. We try to be as strict as a government as the Chinese one, and then we want to be innovative as the Americans, and we do the worst of both sides. So in terms of research, Europe has brilliant researchers, but in the amount of papers which are relevant, we dropped to 3rd place by a huge difference. The Chinese, because they did investment, I think in NIPS conference, they surpassed even the Americans in the amount of publications, not citations, but publications. So a lot of quantity in the market, not the quality yet. But the 170 billion investments, they went somewhere. In research, I think they had an incentive. If you get A ranked with your paper in China, you get up to 100,000 of a grant extra. That's a nice incentive. So we in Europe are somewhere in between. I think most of you know this feeling that management doesn't get it, stakeholders don't get it. You have to do still a lot of convincing to take AI serious and the underlying things. And I often, as I said, I often sit in the German parliament and I have to educate them over and over. And what we have seen with the company Aleph Alpha, has been in the news for some of us. They were first hyped a lot because ChatGPT came out and our politicians thought, oh, what do we have? Oh, we have Aleph Alpha. That's our foster child, like Mistral in France. We don't need to do anything. We have a solution. And now Aleph Alpha, which is logical, realized they can't compete in the space of LLMs with the Americans because you need 100 million to develop the current models. You need 1 billion to develop the next generation of models. And if you go for the Anthropic CEO, we need 10 billions for the next generation of models. Building foundation models gets more and more expensive with each iteration. And we can't afford this game in Germany. So we have to realize what to do next. And that leads me to GenAI, because this is currently, the most obvious trend. But I have to say AI is way more than generative AI, and most of us are doing AI before there was the term generative AI. AI was all over the place. And this is a good example. I use Flux, German multimodal company from Bavaria. I think Baden-Württemberg. And there you see what GenAI it is. On the first glance, it looks good. But if you look a second time, you see the mistakes. I asked them to write about the Everyday AI Summit, and what came out was AI.FUND. And then I have like 2024. So, and even it doesn't matter how often I prompted it, it still was making the mistakes. So I let it on the slide because it's standing for our ecosystem. And then let's talk about who is actually doing the big AI stuff out there. And this is not about a competitor to Dataiku. I personally see the opportunity for Dataiku very brilliant to connecting all these different players. But we have NVIDIA. Asking, who's NVIDIA stock owner? Okay, the rest of you missed out an opportunity. I'm sorry. Because like for nerds, I was a gamer when I had time for it. I saved for my first GeForce NVIDIA when I was a kid. So I was always a big fan of them, and then they did a lot of money with the Bitcoin minings, and then, were on the LLM space and training, etc. But NVIDIA came from very low attention span to being number 2 company in the world. And this is the best example of, the hype going into the market and where the money currently is really flowing. And NVIDIA makes the most money. The profit margin is wonderful. And then we have Microsoft, which is, for me, the most serious AI company out there because they have the most power to integrate AI in every company. And if they do it right with Copilot, we know it's not there yet, every Microsoft user, which is mostly non-technical guys, using Windows or something like this, or using any of their office projects, yes, they will use the infusion of AI to tap into the underlying system at that. So they can be a gateway keeper for it. They, by the way, they will be this what SAP could have been if SAP would have a stringent AI strategy. Alphabet is big on the game. Meta is doing a very interesting game. First, we don't have to forget, for the end user space, they have 2 billion users. And what they are currently doing is they're giving the Llama model for free. Everyone else needs to make money. And if you're a startup and you try to compete now with Llama, they are investing 40 billion a year and offering it for free. Your business model is destroyed. So it is very tricky if you're Mistral and offering open source, if someone else has 10 times more budget than you and is offering open source but doesn't want to have money for this. And Meta is doing it because they want to destroy the market in this space. That's a strategic move. Well, we have Amazon, and Amazon is still a big player. Even if they don't bring in innovation into the market, they are still one rolling it out. And then we have the latest one, Apple, because Apple is, sitting on the fence and picking the models they like at the end. But I'm interested in, and then they talk about the Magic 7, but for me, Tesla is not an AI company, but Elon Musk, with former Twitter and Grok, is still playing somewhere there in the field. And then on the other space, we have the foundation models as a synonym for language models, etc. With OpenAI, I think they will last. Currently, they're doing a round for 6 billion raising at a valuation of 150 billion. And Apple and NVIDIA are going to participate in the round because, as I said, Meta already has a model and Alphabet has already a model too. So the big ones are running the big models. Anthropic is the neutral instance, but it seems that Amazon will purchase them, or in other words, Amazon is the largest shareholder already at Anthropic, and they will run Claude now on all Alexa devices, which is interesting, especially if you have kids. Will be huge. And as I said, just look from high level, you have a long tail of smaller models, optimized for markets, optimized on energy, for edge, etc. But if we look for the big game, for those who really bring in the new infusion of intelligence, like Strawberry, another model doing it a little bit better, this will be exponential expensive. By the way, 80% of costs are computing costs. So everything goes back to NVIDIA. If NVIDIA is investing 1 billion into OpenAI and they buy 1 billion of revenue, the public market is giving them 22 billion of more valuation. So that's a good business model, right? I give my client 1 billion and then my market price is going up by 22 billion. That's a win-win for everyone until it collapses. And then layer below, we speak about the long tail of multimodal AI. DALL-E, Midjourney, Flux, Sora, which is not public, but there are many like RunML, etc., character AI. And interestingly, Andreessen Horowitz published a list of the 50 most used AI apps in the market, and most of them are chatbots. So we do all this magic there, and I think we, as professional users, we use this stuff, but at the end, the long tail, the customers, the billions of people out there with their smartphones, they use it to chat. And why? They are lonely. Most apps are used because people talk to an AI because they don't talk to humans anymore. We don't act like this. We go to conferences, we go out, we do business, but the majority of people, they need an AI so they feel less lonely. And you go through all the lists, what they do is for all long tails, for erotics to night stories, everything is there. And then I personally, on the B2B side, I see the largest opportunity, everything, going from one channel to one medium to the other. It's audio to text, it's text to video, it's text to image. And I think if you combine the different data sources, you get the intelligence. So a friend of mine runs a company which is doing nothing else. Then you have a call center agent, and they just transcribe it and give you the summary of it and the call to actions right away. But saves the agents tons of time to write, and the same quality management saves tons of time to know what's in. If you're looking for mistakes, for learnings, like in the moment you run an AI with just someone working his normal job, it's a huge leverage. And then infrastructure, and I skipped this, and I do this on purpose because we don't really have a competition out there. If you're seriously working with AI, I mean really training it, you don't come by outside of NVIDIA. So NVIDIA, it has kind of monopoly there. I'm not allowed to say it, so I didn't officially say it. I'm just quoting it. AMD, they purchased Silo AI, a Finnish company, because they trained their model Vikings on them to go into the markets. Intel is always promising something and not delivering at all. GraphCore, which was building GPUs too, out of UK, was purchased by SoftBank. And then you have a lot of long-tail startups like Recogni, which raised 150 million, is based in the US and also in Germany to work on the next generation of GPUs. So competition will take some years. If you're currently working with AI, or training large models quantity, it's always NVIDIA. And then trends, but most of you know it better, will be Edge. By the way, I hear Edge for, what, 20 years now? I have the feeling if it's too big, it's on the cloud, and the moment it's getting smaller, we can put it back on our smartphone or on the local devices, which is mainly interesting for the latency and the other thing for the data sensitivity. And that's why I'm interested in the Apple Intelligence Cloud, because it says that we'll do a lot of computing on my device, so it doesn't have to go on the cloud all the time, which is better for my privacy. And if it's going to the cloud, I get my dedicated private cloud, which is good too, because I don't like that Alexa's listening all the time to me. That's why. Another topic there is agents, but we have heard a lot about agents too. I'm just saying, from my view, agents will be the next wave. And it will not be a mainstream wave. It's not that your mom will call you, oh, have you heard about this agent model? It's really brilliant. It will not. But my mom asked me about NVIDIA, and that's the moment when you have to sell. I'm speaking I'm speaking about agents for years, by the way. I call it the Internet of Agents. I'm waiting for the time when I just have think and AI will do and will execute on something on me, and I'm currently, for this presentation alone, I have used, and I have a slide for this, I use Perplexity, ChatGPT in different models. I have my own GPT just for keynotes. I use Midjourney, I use DALL-E, I use Flux, and then I use another generator just for the prompts for each of them. So I used, 6, 7 different AI tools just to do one talk, because there's no agent system. I couldn't say please generate all these slides. This is my content. Please execute it. So this will be, for every one of us, the handiness will come. Yes, a friend said, you can build it with Zapier or with another tool. But then, again, it's a very small use case, and it doesn't make sense to automate everything. So sometimes it just makes sense to do it manually. But we will come to the point that the non-technical users want to have click and drop. Or better, they just want to use 2 things, their mouse and their voice. So AI needs to be so easy that a person who has no clue about it is able to use it. That's why ChatGPT is so successful, because it's just another messenger, it's just another interface, and people who had no clue about how to build an AI. I mean, you could have used processors of ChatGPT for all this. But the mainstream, we talk about 200 million users using ChatGPT on a daily basis, 200 million people. They do it because it's fucking easy to use. It's all about usability at the end. Regulation, that was a topic I was asked to touch, and it is an important topic because it will be heavier. And good news is the laws already existed. Yeah, if you are in banking, we have the before. Banking was regulated before, so it will not change a lot, but AI on top is regulated. And this is just the AI Act 1 regulation. We speak about DSR, GDPR. I think you will touch 30 to 40 different laws if you're really working seriously on AI. And I don't assume that any one of you knows all these laws. But with the AI Act, it will be heavier. So if you work with AI, you will have to show the reasoning. You have to do the transparency. And very funny, I don't know how you want to do reasoning with AI because they can't. They will bullshit the reasoning for you. Maybe they, like Perplexity, will go to the sources. But the moment when you have statistics inside and mathematics, it's very hard to do the reasoning in a way that an auditor will come in and understands. So whatever magic you do in your black box, you will have to put this magic in some written words that an auditor from Deloitte will come in and give you a stamp because they believe your AI is unbiased and trustworthy. Because this is what Europe thinks, or Brussels thinks AI can be proven. So this will happen. So documentations, you will have to write a lot of paperwork. Governments will be a part, and you need a software to cover this governments. That's why I think Dataiku makes sense to go along the value chain. And if we speak about biases, If I prompt something on Midjourney, etc., I get most of the time always a man. So I have to literally prompt, I want to have a female version of the object displayed or subject displayed. Plus, if I want to have it normal sized, I have to write oversized. Why? Everything is trained on very biased data. Yes? Whatever we generate with AI, it is an artificial super image of humankind. They look perfectly, they are super skinny, they are, everything is seamless, but it's not the reality. On Instagram, I recently had the joke that on Instagram, you only see men with six-packs. But by math, there are roughly 8 million Americans with a six-pack and 150 million with a beer belly. Where are all the 150 million pictures of beer belly men? Algorithms only show us what we want to see, but it's not the reality. And the moment you work with AI, it's your responsibility to consider this. That's what I'm here today and speak about you from my motivation, because you have the impact on your hand. If you work in data science, if you work with the data, with the models, with algorithms, you decide what role and what world model you create. And is it like the real world, or is it just a subjective version you want to do? And then we speak a lot about stakeholder images management. That's what I mentioned at the beginning. AI used to be something for data science and engineers and researchers. But now you have all the governance people, I don't even know who they are in the company. You have ethics. Like every major AI company or a company with a lot of technology, they will have a chief ethics officer. They will look, is this model really unbiased? Is your data clean or unclean? Did you do the labeling and the training good? Do we have to censor the model? The reason why ChatGPT is so successful is because it's censored. And some of us remember the bots from 2016, which was running on Twitter. So Microsoft launched a Twitter bot to learn from humans. And what happened? After a couple of hours, the bot started to say, we need to build a wall, black people can't do taxes, and that Adolf Hitler was a great guy. Why? Because humans are evil if they are anonymous. They like to tweak the systems. They like to hijack and destroy them. So you need an instance before to teach your machine ethics and moral. I call it AI kindergarten. You need to teach what's right and wrong. You can't leave an untrained child in the open world. It will come back with words you don't want that it's knowing it. And this is the same as about AI. So ethics and architecture will play in. And then on the other hand, compliance. You will have the lawyers there and asking you, is this compliant? Can we put this in our report? Product management wants to oversell, and marketing especially, all the time. They sell solutions you can't develop now. And work councils for German Betriebsrat. As an investor, I have seen a lot of AI companies integrating. And if they ended at a certain time, it's because work councils was afraid. It could replace humans, it could replace people. By the way, it doesn't. Most of the time, AI is a great tool to augment you. If we use AI, we use it because it's saving us time. If you're coding and using Copilot for coding, it saves you time. You don't use the time to do nothing, you just have more time for others. If you're in customer support and AI is filtering 80% of the annoying stuff, you have more time for the quality. And that's what's actually leading to. I know I'm standing, it's me or the food out there. Yeah? So I use the last minutes I have scare, and this is the last slide. I call it last thoughts. So first is AI needs law. AI needs to be regulated, and there was the company SSI, super intelligence, from a former OpenAI founder, was just funded with, I think, another billion going to the company because they want to build a safe super intelligence. By the way, this won't work. Because if you want to have a super intelligence, means we're creating our own gods. But creating our own gods with a safeguard next to it, I don't know if it's good marketing or they know something we don't have. But still, laws out there, and they will come, and you will always have to comply with them because politicians are afraid, and what they can do really good is regulation. They are really bad at enabling a market. Problem there is the technology we're working with it's already 5 years ahead. So law is mostly trying to regulate what's already existing, which makes it a little bit trickier. By the way, that's why we don't get Apple Intelligence here. Or that's why Claude Sonnet 3.5 is not public here yet. Because European law is a little bit tricky there. AI becomes political in waves, attention waves, over and over again. I've seen it. I've seen so many papers written by our governments, and I've seen very little execution on side of this, but they talk a lot. And then fakes. I mean, the whole US election system we currently have, it's, how do we precise say this? Donald Trump, with the help of our supervillain Elon Musk, is generating a lot of deepfakes. And they're flooding the market with this. And deepfakes, I mean, we maybe see it, but most people don't. 2 years ago, I had an AI generating my talk, and then with Synthesia, I had the video there, and all the AI people saw it, but every non-AI people, they didn't see the difference. They didn't know that this was not real. It was artificially generated. And the world is flooded with this. And in the United States, what it happens. We see it, by the way, with AfD in Germany too, generating deepfakes with TikTok, etc., doing influences. So we, again, have responsibility here. And we need to figure out how we educate and show what's a deep fake and what not, or we don't misuse it. But in the United States, it's currently getting a serious problem. And 8 years ago, when Trump was elected first time, it was mainly of micro-targeting via Facebook algorithm. He was tweaking this a lot. Now we're going another level. So again, AI is such a critical tool, which is maybe even deciding who will be president in the United States or not. And again, it's all about ethics, because AI, at the end, I call it Kulturbewahrung. We train it. And we train the machine with right and wrong. And if we do it right, it is like us. Or in other words, you can take all the LMMs out there and put them on an axis between left and right. And then you see Grok on the left side, right side being anti-Semitic, racist. And then you see especially alphabet models being much very in the left liberal side of being very diverse. So if you, for example, want to have a picture of the founding fathers, which we know were only white men in the United States, we once had this case that Google or Alphabet overextended it a little bit and made a picture of the founding fathers which was mostly 100% diverse. And then again, we come to a point where do we rewrite history and teach our children later, oh, everything was diverse because this is what the AI is telling us? Or do we tell them the truth? Well, only white men ruled the world for a very long time, and this maybe has changed today. And then when we talk about AIs, as I said, just some thoughts for the break, it will be the 99% versus the 1%, because AI leads to one thing, rich people getting richer. A lot of stock market capitalization is going to 7 companies, which is owned by a handful of people at the end, or stock, or BlackRock, etc. It's not going, the surplus we generate with AI, it's not going into salaries. It's not going into more jobs. It's getting in a few better paid jobs. If I hear that a prompt engineer is earning a couple of €100,000 in the United States, that's good, but it also means the prompt engineer in the marketing department is maybe, on the long side, replacing 10 less paid interns who used to do the job before. This also leads to that if we do it right as a society, we can have a jobless future, a topic I like to discuss. Not here yet, but if we use it right, let AI do the work. Then we just have to figure out how we use the money, the productivity gains, that it's not going to 1%, but to the other 99%. Which I think we're all part of. And then at the end, it will be resilience and adaptation, because I think the next 10 years will be rough. They will be tricky on many levels. If it's Taiwan, Middle East, etc., AI taking over or not, it will be a rough time. So it's an exciting time. We have so many things to decide and opportunities, but it's also a challenge. And to sum up, if you want to discuss this deeper, I'm hosting the Rise of AI conference next year in May. It's targeting those who do AI full-time. It's mainly decision makers and trying to have a positive energy about change. And then I have written a book about this, which was published just recently, and I have 2 versions with me. So we don't have Q&A, I heard, but who wants to have a copy and ask me the first question off stage? I have 1 version here, so I have 2 with me, which is summing it up. And if you already know everything about AI, think about who should read the book so they understand what you actually do. And I thank you for listening, and you can follow up on LinkedIn with me if you want to.